Talmud Bavli, Maseches Eruvin 3a. A cornice, one higher than the next. What an objection, however, is this? Is it not possible that the statement about the cornices was made in respect of the ulam? And what difficulty is this? It is quite possible that the build of the entrance to the Heichal was like that of the ulam. Then why did Rabbi La state in the name of Rav that if a crossbeam was for handbreadth wide, it constitutes a proper gateway, even though it was not strong enough? And if it had a cornice, there is no need to lower it, even if it was higher than 20 cubits. Rabbi Joseph replied, the ruling about the cornice is that of Braisa. Who learned it? Abba replied, Chama, the son of Rabbi Bar Avuha, learned it. But even if the ruling about the cornice is of Braisa, does it not present an objection against Rav? Rav can answer you, even if I am removed from here, are not the two Braisas mutually contradictory? All you can reply, however, is that they represent the two views of different Tanas. So also reply to the contradiction against me may be that our respective statements are the views of different Tanaim. Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, in the absence of a statement of Rav, there is no contradiction between the two Braisas, since the reason of the rabbis for limiting the height of the beam may be that there should be a distinguishing mark, and that the use of the expression higher than the doorway of the Heichal is a mere mnemonic. As to Reb Nachman Bar Yitzchak, his explanation may be accepted as satisfactory if he does not adopt the view of Rabbah. But if he does adopt the view of Rabbah, who stated, it is written in Scripture that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel dwell in booths. Ki basukoth hoshafti et bnei Yisrael. If the roof of the booth is not higher than 20 cubits, one knows that one is living in a booth. But if it is higher than 20 cubits, one would not know it, since the roof does not require catching of the eye. Since it does not catch the eye, from which it is clear that in respect of sukkah also differ on the question of distinction. Why? It may be actually express the same difference. The two rulings, both are required. For if we have been informed of their dispute in respect of sukkah only, it might have been assumed that only in this case does Rav Yehuda maintain his view, because a sukkah, since it is made for the purpose of sitting in, the eye will observe the roof. But that in the case of an alley, since it is used for walking, he agrees with the rabbis. And if we have been informed of the other ruling, it might have been assumed that only in this case did the rabbis maintain their view, but that in the other case they agree with Rav Yehuda, since the necessity for both rulings. What is the meaning of amaltera? Amaltera. Rav Chama, the son of Rabba Barabuha, said, pigeonholes. When Rav Dimi came, he stated that to the west, Bima'arava, it was explained as cedar poles. He who said that the cedar poles constituted proper entrance would, with even more reason, admit that pigeonholes constitute proper entrance. He, however, who said that pigeonholes constitute a proper entrance recognized only these, but not cedar poles. As to him, however, who recognized cedar poles is not the reason, because their length is considerable, but if so, it may be objected. It is not the extent of the roof, a sukkah considerable, and the rabbis nevertheless ruled that it is not valid. The fact, however, is that since there are valuable people talking about them, if part of the thickness of the cross beam was within 20 cubits, and part of it above 20 cubits, or part of the depth of the covering of the sukkah within 20 cubits, or part of it above 20 cubits, such an altitude as rabbah is admissible in the case of an entrance, but inadmissible in that of a sukkah. Why is these admissible in the case of an entrance? Obviously because we say, regard the beam as planed. But then, why should not be said in respect to the sukkah also, regard the roof as thinned? If you assume the roof to be thinned, the sunshine in the sukkah would have to be assumed to be more than the shade. But here also, if you regard it as planed, would not the beam be like one that can be carried away by the wind? Consequently, you must assume that beams in the conditions mentioned are regarded as metal spits. It may not be them. Here also be said that whatever the assumption, the extent of the shade is actually more than that of sunshine. Rabbah of Parazika replied, in the case of sukkah, since it is usually intended for the use of an individual, one might not remember the altitude of the roof. In the case of an entrance, however, since it is made for the use of the many, the people concerned would remind one another. Ravina replied, the rabbis made the law stricter in respect of a sukkah because the commandment is from the Torah, but in respect of an entrance to an alley, the prescribed construction, which is only rabbinical, the rabbis did not impose such restrictions. Rav Ada Barabatena taught. The statement of Rabbah decided reverse order. Rabbah said, Adkan.